Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a creative sim for the Haunted Mansion. So these are the characters that are going to be living in my version of the Haunted Mansion. That was my previous speed build and I really do recommend that you go check that one out before watching today's video. I started out that video by giving a really big preface to the backstory, the information that I'm going to be using, the lore that I decided to go with. And ultimately, I know that people aren't going to agree with my version of the mansion, and that's definitely not the point. But this is the version that I've chosen for the characters that are living in my save file. You can always change what you don't like. You can always use what you do like. There was a ton of information to go off of between the different versions of the Haunted Mansion ride, the comics, the live action movie, the books, just so much that I could possibly use. And there's just different versions that everybody agrees upon when it comes to the lore. There's certain things that people agree are true, and then there's others that people kind of argue about, and there's just different versions across the board. So I tried to take a combination of everything and make a version that I think represents really cool, interesting characters with some bits here and there sprinkled from different versions of the ride and different versions of the comics, different all across the board. So you will notice little references to different things throughout my explanation of the characters today, but I did a lot of research and this is ultimately what I decided to go with. So we are starting out first with Master Gracie. He is the owner of the Haunted Mansion. His aspiration is Mansion Baron. He is an ambitious art lover snob sim. His spouse, or previously, was Constance Hatchaway, his wife before passing. He is going to be a ghost sim, as are all of the characters in the Haunted Mansion. And as for career for all of these characters, just because I have to give a career to them, I decided to make them all freelancers, but in particular, if you really needed money for this household, Master Gracie would be able to paint something up for you pretty quickly of value. Master Gracie is the wealthy owner of the Haunted Mansion, formerly known as the Gracey family mansion. Edward was always considered a very handsome, kind, and polite young man. He was overjoyed to be married to Constance and loved her deeply. Not much is known about his passing. He died shortly after the ceremony of his wedding to Constance. Some say he received a gift that contained poison of some kind. His grave still lies outside of the mansion, but there is a request on his tombstone not to mourn his passing. He would have wanted Constance to move on and live her life to the fullest, and trust me, she certainly did. Edward Gracie was an aristocrat. He enjoyed the finer things of his upper-class life, including art most of all. He held many ranks and titles. He always enjoyed the company of others and would host large balls at the mansion. So he is a little bit of like a snobby upper-class person, don't get me wrong, but he actually did really love Constance and was overjoyed to be married to her. Unfortunately, he had an early demise on the day of their wedding, but it makes a lot of sense why he would still be in the mansion to this day. Next, we have Constance Hatchaway, aka the Bride or the Black Widow Bride. Her aspiration is a serial romantic. She is a materialistic, self-absorbed evil sim. Constance has had many husbands throughout her life. She married young and just continued to keep marrying until the day she died. Her former husbands were always very different from one another in age, personality, and interests. Mysteriously, every one of her husbands was wealthy, usually a mansion baron or aristocrat of some kind, and found random, unfortunate, or untimely deaths. No one can deny Constance's pure beauty. There are very few people in this world that would compare. She was always seen as a trophy wife and an absolute treasure to be acquired. Men groveled at her feet, fought for her hand, and offered her the world. She knew exactly who she was and would never settle down with a man without serious money and status. She married dozens of times in her lifetime. Tragically for Constance, she would experience heartbreak again and again. Every man she ever married died a tragic death. That never stopped men from chasing her, though. She continued to remarry and inherit riches for the full 100 years of her life. She lives at the mansion because of her fondness for Master Gracie, one of her former husbands. Constance has an infatuation with hatchets. It was always considered very unladylike to be interested in such things, so she started to keep her collection of them a secret. She enjoys learning about odd old tools and ancient weapons. She would sometimes acquire them using her husband's money and hide them in her room to be admired later. Now that she's a part of the afterlife, she has them more proudly on display in the haunted mansion. I just wanted Constance to be this like breathtakingly gorgeous sim. I definitely think she hit the mark. She is like the most stunning sim I have in the save file so far, and obviously there's so much backstory and lore to like her particular character, and obviously you can also connect the dots as to how her husbands were passing, but I just think she's such an interesting character. I'm really excited to have her in the save file. Now we have Madame Leota. Her aspiration is spell, craft, and sorcery. She is a genius, self-assured bookworm. And like I mentioned in the last video, she will actually be a spellcaster ghost combo. Madame Leota was a renowned sorcerer that used to travel the world and tell fortunes. She started as a fortune teller from youth in a traveling circus. Since her teenage years, she's been alone. She always knew that she was capable of more high-power magic, but just needed somebody to teach her. Although her adult years are largely shrouded in secret, she did eventually find someone to teach her spellcasting in depth. Unfortunately, one day, a poorly mixed potion and a glance into a cursed crystal ball later was the perfect concoction to an early end for Madame Leota. Although her powers never reach their full potential, she has all the time in the world to practice in the afterlife. She haunts the infamous haunted mansion because she enjoys the company, the ambiance, and messing with the other ghosts that live there and cannot use magic. Madame Leota is a neutral spellcaster, neither truly good or evil. She mostly works for herself and her own gain, but would never go out of the way to purposefully hurt someone else. Playing tricks on other ghosts in the mansion for her own enjoyment is usually how she spends her days. She still practices magic and works on her own skills, including trying to perfect that tricky spell that ended her life. She's become a little bit obsessed with it. And then lastly, we have the Hatbox Ghost, which I have lovingly named Randall Hatbox. His aspiration is Chief of Mischief. He is an erratic, mean snob. Formerly also married to Constance Hatchaway, Randall Hatbox was believed to once be a pirate in his early lifetime and interested in tall tales of dark magic. At some point, he met Edward Gracie and settled down into a more affluent lifestyle. His wealth may have come from pirate gold. Randall was married to Constance before Edward. Although Edward would never say so, he was overjoyed about Randall's mysterious death because he knew he would finally be able to court and marry Constance. Edward and Randall considered each other friends otherwise, but Edward felt Randall was a mean and sometimes erratic man and wanted better for Constance. Randall's death was violent, angry, and left his body in unrecognizable form. In the afterlife, he was originally bitter and angry about his early passing and haunted the Gracie mansion early to take revenge on Edward for marrying his former wife. Now he sees a sick humor in his death and can often be found at Constance's side, helping her play mean tricks on others. Randall enjoys tricks and mayhem. He goes as the Hatbox Ghost in the afterlife and likes the challenge of surprising and attempting to scare other ghosts. This is no easy feat, obviously. If you enter the haunted mansion, the Hatbox Ghost will surely be the first to greet you and give you a tour. So those are my characters for the haunted mansion today. There will be more included in Forgotten Hollow as townies. Obviously, we have the hitchhikers, we have the groundskeeper, we have other characters as well that I think that I will be able to implement, but we're going to reserve those as townies and just have these four guys as your really messy and dramatic and fun household that you could possibly play with if you're interested. And that is going to be the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed my version of these guys. Let me know what you thought of them down below in the comments section. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you would like to support the Disney Save on Patreon, you could do so by clicking the link in my description box down below or the one at the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post, and I will talk to you all in the next one.